it is in fintech or not, right? So let me start with a bit introduction about myself. If it is in bahasa, there is basically proverb saying tak kenal maka tak sayang, right? How many of you are Indonesian students? May I see some raised hands? So I know if I can speak in bahasa sometimes later in the session. Can I see some raised hand? Okay, yeah. So I think first of all, would like to start with introduction. So just you can consider whether you can trust what you hear from your instructor today. Is it something that accountable and reliable or not as a learning, right? So back in 2014, I was a student of a management program in Universitas 11 Maret. I have a great 4 years. Together with some of the committees in this fintech program. So I was one of the research assistant team member as well, where I got a lot of opportunities to meet with other academicians and also involved in many projects that at the end of the day, it really support my career pursuit, right? So 2018, it was a year where I was graduated from Universitas 11 Maret. But the fun fact is that I was quite surprised because during the graduation ceremony, I was awarded with something that I didn't know if that award category is even exists. So basically, I was awarded as the how to say as a fastest graduate. So basically, I'm completing my thesis in the most short period of time. Compared to the other peers in my batch, right? And I didn't even know if that award does exist. But the good thing is that I got my name written in the graduation ceremony books. So at least I'm leaving a good legacy to the university. Although, as a matter of fact, in my first semester, I got my management class a D score. So at the time, basically, I didn't submit the assignment that the lecturer requests me to do, simply because I was trying to challenge the lecturer, right? I was asking a lot of questions if summarizing textbook is an effective learning method, right? At the end of the day, what do we really get from summarizing a textbook? Because for me, I really love a two-way discussion instead of like moving one textbook into a notebook, right? So that's also why today I hope we can have a two-way discussion. Later on, I will actually ask you guys a lot of questions, and I hope you do not hold yourself from asking questions, because I think just staying and listening is boring, and it's actually even more interesting if you can argue or having a basically healthy argument with your instructor, right? So let me know what your thought, let me know your feedback, and by then it's actually where the learning process is. And then 2018, I was landed on my first job. Basically, it's a startup company. The truth to be told is that at the time, as a fresh graduate, I have a mindset that today I wouldn't recommend to my juniors. So at the time, I think whatever the job I get, first I will just take it, right? So I didn't do much research about what the company business is, what would I do in that role, what will be the responsibility, and even is the salary that is being offered is a good range compared to the benchmark in the market, right? But I took it anyway, and I didn't regret anything at all. At the end of the day, that first job is actually what brought me to get my second job, because the role is quite similar, right? So the company name was Glitz. Basically, it's a recruitment startups. They are creating to create technology so company can post their job in the job portal, and company also can source talent. I joined when the company was still very small, like around 20 people, and even it was not in a cool building, right? So if you see in some social media, Jakarta basically is well known with this industry area or office area called SCBD, right? But my very first office is far from that. So some of you who speak in Bahasa, it is like in Ruko, you know. But it was a very great learning opportunity as well. I was with the company for less than a year, helping them to grow the business team, recruiting some of the key roles up until I got my opportunity to move to my second company, which is Robert Walters. It's also still in recruitment industry, but this time the basic reason why I moved is because I think at the time as early jobbers, I was still in my early careers. I really need a learning. I really need a benchmark of how to do things right. Well, in my first company, I got I would say too much flexibility to explore things on my own that I didn't get direction from a more senior person, which I think at the time is very important. And that is why I moved to a company, to Robert Walters, where I was the youngest consultant. And that is, I think that is where I start to get exposed with a lot of fintech companies, got the opportunity to assist some numbers of fintech company as my clients. For example, if some of you familiar with like OVO, Cermati, and then Home Credit, which is a consumer financing company, some of them were my clients back in the days. And what I do, basically helping them to hire senior talent, right? And then last year, right before the pandemic, I made another move, which I'm super happy, and I can say it is one of the best career decision I made, is that I make the jump into venture capital, right? Which I think in some in the past few years, venture capital is a rising industry. There are more and more players in Indonesia and in the Southeast Asia region. Basically, what a venture capital do, they provide capital investment to early stage startups, right? So they provide capital investment in exchange into stake or equity ownership. So for example, if my company put $5 million in a company, and then in exchange to that, we have like 50% ownership of the company, right? And that is how we are called as their investors. So in this company, what I do, basically, once we are investing in a company, I will working closely with the company founders to help them strategize how the organization should be built in the short, mid, and long term, right? So thinking about what is the most critical function. For example, if one of the companies that we invest, they want to create payment technology, but as a matter of fact, in the market there are already GoPay, Dana, OVO, Link Aja, and some other payment players, right? So what do we actually want to do differently? That's a question that we ask, right? And that is how we are sitting together with the founders to make sure that they are doing a business upon clear competitive advantages. So long story short, that it is. And then now it's your turn, right? First thing first, before we start with anything, I would like to hear from some of you before we talk about what is career opportunities in fintech. I want to invite all of you to firstly think, even at the first stage, is why do we consider that, right? Why is it worth? Why do we even want to getting to that career path in fintech industry? Can I hear some thoughts, some feedback, some answers? I wish someone turning on your microphone and share your thoughts. Don't be afraid that your friends will judge your answer or anything. It's your stage, it's your own. Lots of opportunities, okay? If you can be specific, what opportunities that do you mean, Safa? I think I won't go to my next slide up until I hear at least 3 answers from 120 students here, right? Don't think that I am not nervous. I am, and hence why I want to have the session as two-way discussion instead of like one way, because I am interested in digital economy. Okay, it's related to my study in university. Got it. Fintech facilitated life. I love that answers. It intersects with my interest in analytics. Okay. Adapt to current circumstances. So fintech is bring in relevancy, right? Any more questions? Don't be shy. I think fintech will be the most people needed in the future. Yeah. Even the fact people need the money, not the fintech. Fintech is just the medium. Any more answers? Thank you for those who participating, right? Can break my stereotypes about this new knowledge. Okay. There are 130 hats in this room, right? So I hear at least a few more different answers. It's what we need during and after the pandemic. Yeah. What we need is perhaps the virus to go away and get vaccinated soon. But you're true, yeah. So thank you everyone for the answer. Really appreciate that. And why I would love to hear from everyone here is because I believe during the first day or the early days of our career, one of the barrier that we need to break is about having courage to speak up, right? A lot of times it is not that we do not have opinion in our mind. It's just we are not we are not brave enough to speak it up, right? So at the end of the day, we keep our own thoughts in our mind. We don't let people know. And by not letting other people know, a lot of times we do not get feedback on whether what we think is right or not, is makes sense or not, right? So if I can share the objectives of our session today. So when I prepared this, I refer to the booklet and module that the organizing committee shared to me. I think it's worth more than just understand the job opportunities that are available in fintech industry. But beyond that, moreover is I would like to share with everyone here how we can have a clear thought process. Basically the rationale behind making our career decision, right? At the end of the day, fintech is not for everyone, right? And aside from fintech, we also have multiple industries offering a great opportunities as well, right? For example, like FMCG with the stability of its industry, and perhaps even conventional bank is also offering a great benefits to a lot of talents. Startup, e-commerce is also equally interesting, right? But knowing what fintech is today, I hope everyone can start identifying at the end of the day, is this something that I want to pursue or not? So it's simply to help yourself answer that simple question. Yeah. We'll answer your questions later. Thank you. So at the first stage, let's get to understand what are the various types in fintech institution, right? I believe the most common one that we use in our daily life is most of the cases, the payment, right? The e-wallet. But actually, there are a lot more of fintech business instead of just payment, right? So these are just some examples of that. But instead of going through in detail one by one of this, which I would encourage, if you are curious enough to know, you can simply Google them, right? What I wanted to share is more from the business perspective of fintech, right? So at the fundamental level of fintech business, what actually all these fintech companies are doing. they are playing role as an intermediary, right? That's why I say they are actually a medium. They are not creating product, right? In all of fintech business, basically the product is they are offering technology to create platform. They create technology, they create infrastructure. They create infrastructure using technology that at the end of the day can help people to access the supply or distribute the demand of money in much more easier and effective way, right? Speaking of lending, I saw it was either Monday or Tuesday that you learn about the peer-to-peer lending, right? It's basically a platform where a bunch of people with interest to invest, they are looking for opportunity where they can disperse their money, right? In comparison to just save it in the bank. At the other side, there are a bunch of stakeholders, perhaps individual business owner, perhaps small business owner, MSME, who are looking for financing, perhaps to buy more inventory of their products, perhaps to expand their business, right? And all the peer-to-peer lending guys that operate their business in this peer-to-peer landscape, basically they are doing, they are channeling, right? So they do not own the money. Basically, they do not own the supply, but they are creating this platform to attract people. So eventually they want to invest, they want to put their money. And that is what makes one and the other peer-to-peer lending uniquely different in terms of the interest rate, in terms of the risk management tools. For example, okay, look, if say, for example, Excel, you have more monies. You do not want your money to just sit in the bank. You want to multiply your money, right? So you can have a side income. At the other side of the city, there are this bunch of SME that are looking for funding to finance their business. But you don't know which one of them that actually are credible enough for you to lend your money to them. And that is where the fintech, that is where the peer-to-peer players offering their help by creating the, what is it called, credit scoring system using AI, right? Artificial intelligence. How we can predict someone or someone else business risk or probability of succeed if we lend them this amount of money based on their historical business performance, how likely they will be able to pay us and in what period of time. And if we decided to lend them the money, how much in return we would be able to get, right? So that's just the example of peer-to-peer lending. But today, some of you might know there are a lot, even more types of fintech, like the recent one that is very hype, the crypto, and then right, basically the blockchain ones that you will also learn later in the next module tomorrow. Crowdfunding is actually similar. They are also an intermediary platform. They are channeling the supply and demand of money, but in a different use case, right? It's under the umbrella of social mission. So if you can think about it, about all these fintech players at the basic level, what they do is actually they try to play that intermediary role through technology. And what they really offer is the access, right? Remember, it's not the money, but the access of money. So that is actually the true product of fintech business, right? And if I can go back to my previous slide, the reason why some people might be more interested than the others in pursuing career in fintech, if you think about who are the stakeholders that truly get the benefit from all these technology innovations. Any thoughts? Who are actually really get the benefit, who get the benefit from all of this easiness created by technology? Type your answer, please. People I know. The consumers. We are part of the consumers, the users. Yeah, but who are the users? Investors. You're right, investor makes more money. All of us. Yeah, Akbar, Rehan, which one are you? Can I see yourself? Yeah, all of us here is actually reflecting to inclusivity. At the end of the day, the aim of fintech of the financial technology is to basically help the country to achieve its inclusive growth and development, right? If we zoom out from the macroeconomic perspective, we know that, for example, like what I do in my current company, later you will meet my colleague later on today in the third session. He will share you about perhaps how venture capital operates. But the idea is, in most developing countries, capital or supply of money, supply of financial resources are concentrated in certain area, right? Let's say in the capital city or in metropolitan city. Metropolitan basically cities that has equal or close GDP rate to capital city. And then basically by fintech, we are enabling people at the other side of the country to also access the financial resources, so it can enable their financial activities, be it for business, be it for personal consumption purpose, or is it for education financing, like one of startup company named Cicil, they do education loan, right? So it's just a different use case, but the idea is where more people, where more stakeholders, especially in the one that running economic activities, they can access the financial resources. That is where the countries grow hand in hand, not only the capitalized group of people, but also those who are in needs. And that's why we need technology to reach out or to spread the outreach of the financial resources. While the traditional bank, if you sometimes hear the terms of unbankable people, basically what fintech wanted to do, they want to help the unbankable people, right? Because in the conventional bank, there are a lot of rigid requirements where basically that makes either a business is qualified or not to apply for example, capital, or to basically to borrow the money from the banks, right? There are a lot of very rigid requirements, but what the fintech is trying to do, it is not that they loosen the requirements, but by technology they can predict the result in a way that they can lend the help to more people. So based on my experience interviewing people, I hear a lot of them who are today's building career in fintech industry, be it in payment, in securitas, in peer-to-peer lending, or any types of fintech. One similar pattern that drives them is that they see how fintech can enable the larger society. So most of the time it's driven by a social mission, by aspiration to help the other people in the countries to grow. And that is actually at the end of the day, that motivation is what make people stay in fintech business, right? Because not to mention, a lot of fintech models are still operating in a relatively new framework. that even the regulators themselves are still figuring out what is the regulatory framework to facilitate each of these fintech players, right? So that is why if you heard about some companies, they are changing the product, changing the business model. One of a kind is also because there are a lot of gray areas in the regulations, right? So, but we are seeing the government is trying to catch up. But we know that all this fintech business is some back in the days wasn't something that government are prepared with. But with the emergence of fintech business, more and more government is also trying to catch up, right? We want to see the nation grow hand in hand, and it couldn't be achieved only by business, but also by the support of government, right? So next, I think what is it more for you at the end of the day, after knowing some of the types of fintech business. Sorry that I didn't go through one by one. I would like to encourage you to go having further research in the particular fintech types of fintech organization that you are most interested to explore, right? Rather than listening from me. But what I would like to share is actually, if I were interested to have a career in fintech, in which part of the organization can I contribute myself into, right? Anyone here know what specific role do you wanted to pursue? If I may hear again some aspirations. In case you've done your research, in case you have perhaps your brother or sister working in the fintech company and you hear she or he is doing an interesting job, perhaps you wanted to do the same, or you're looking at your friends, at your seniors. Tell me about what you hear. Anyone else? Yeah. So what I put here is actually just a few parts from a bunch more opportunities in fintech, right? But what I want to capture for you is how organization actually operates enabled by these 4 key functions, right? Or what we call pillar. Let me start with a product builder types of person, right? I'm not sure how many from us here that are coming from a non-economic background, but if there are some of you coming from perhaps engineering program or information security, computer science, most of the time this product folks are coming from your background, your study background, right? And what they do, they create a product which most of us are more familiar or call it with applications, right? Mobile applications that we use in our daily life. But a process to create, even for example, just a GoPay product or an OVO product or another fintech product, it actually starts with solving the pain points of your users. In a way, you have to be firstly clear who are your user target, what are their pain points, and how your product could eventually solve their problems. So start with that 3 questions, right? The engineering guys, they will create basically using the programming language, they create the infrastructure, the environment for the technology. The product manager is the guy who developed the roadmap on how the platform will solve both the user problem, but at the same time also make money for the business. So even as a product manager, it's not only a technical role. Sometimes it requires a quite strong business acumen as well. And then the UI UX designer, basically some of them coming from the strong visual background, some of them coming from the psychology background as well. They are trying to empathize how is a user journey, right? In which design a product will be easiest for the users to use, right? So it doesn't create confusion for the users, right? But if we back again to this, the essence of the product builders is that you create the product that at the end of the day delivers the value of your company, delivers the value of your business, right? Say, for example, if you remember 2-3 years ago, in some food stalls, there are multiple QR code, right? If you are paying using Dana, you scan the Dana QR code. You are paying using OVO, you scan OVO QR code. And back in the days when there are still competition, up until we have the QRIS, which is one single sources of QR code, that is only when we can use single QR code to pay using any types of e-wallet, right? It all started with a pain points that merchants or the business owner are having complexity or having too much basically operational stuff to manage if they are accepting payment from multiple payment sources, right? Imagine you are a food stall owner, and I got this amount of money from GoPay, from OVO, and today perhaps from Shopee Pay, and I have to consolidate all of them in one, and then I have to check, is it match or not with the inventory and cash in cash out of my business, right? So that's one of the example how product has always to be start from a problem solving and user pain points, right? And then second part is basically the money maker. Money maker is basically the commercial team. They are thinking about, okay, now we have these cool products to solve the user's problem, right? But how at the first place the user can even know that we have this product for them? How do they know that this solution exists, right? It is talking about the go-to-market strategy that later on break down into many other marketing initiative like digital marketing, performance marketing, using marketing tools, or for example, campaign to deliver the message about your products, to educate the market about how to use your product, right? Awareness is one thing, but when users know your product, it doesn't necessarily mean they can use it, right? Especially those who are in the second and third tier regions, right? For us, it's just very easy to change across multiple mobile applications. But think about how our parents, how about our perhaps uncle, how about our aunts, right? Even at the first place, they need to clearly understand what is this product for? Can I trust to put my money there? Back in the very early days, this trust issue is one of the greatest challenge that the marketing team in Fintech has to break, right? So business development, they are doing all the acquisition, right? Acquisition for the from the supply and from the demand side. Marketing, thinking about how the product would be adopted. Their performance are mostly assessed by product adoption metrics. So usually if we work in the company, we know what is it called as KPI, right? How can my leader tell me if I am performing well or not? So there is what is it called KPI. And what is the KPI for marketing guy? Okay, you have a great campaign, you have a beautiful design, your campaign is viral in Instagram or perhaps even in TikTok, you spend budget to endorse influencers. At the end of the day, what is the return to the business? Let's see how many numbers of download, how many numbers of new users, How many numbers of repeat transaction? So it's a very numbers driven, right? Partnership. Partnership is not only about speaking of exposure, right? For example, Tokopedia is an e-commerce platform. They have thousands or even millions of merchants selling products in their platform. For them, as a business, they need to make sure that the merchants have a good level of inventory product. So they are keep selling in the platform, right? Which means if the merchants do not have capital to buy more inventory, they cannot sell in the platform, right? That is why Tokopedia is partnering with multiple fintech financing players. If you check your Tokopedia applications now, you will see they have OVO Pay Later, they have Home Credit, they have Kredivo, they have a lot of financial solutions, right? At the end of the day, to enable, okay, we facilitate you, so you will be able to keep selling your products in our platform. Don't worry of being running out of money, right? So that is type of partnership that we can say it is impactful to the business, right? But those type of partnership that, okay, let's exchange each other advertising, put my logos there, I'll put your logos at my banner. How is it reflected to the business? Yeah, but we got awareness. Okay, and what does awareness mean to the business, right? So let's think from the business perspective. And the third one, strategy director. Strategy director usually there are senior people. Is the leadership, the upper management in the company. They are deciding in the company direction if we want to develop a new platform, a new product. Should we build from scratch? Which means we have to hire more engineers, we have to hire more product managers, or let's just acquire from existing players who is not yet as big as us, but they have a great product. This happened when OVO acquired Taralight. So Taralight is a B2B payment gateway, payment infrastructure platform. When OVO wants to lend money to their OVO merchants, they don't need to build the infrastructure from zero, but they buy this infrastructure from Taralight, and Taralight becomes their company, right? At the other side, Taralight as a business, they also need a bigger demand. And that is where the acquisition offer from OVO becomes interesting to them. It's also happened with Gojek and Mocha. If some of you might follow the news update around startups, we oftentimes hear that bigger company acquired the smaller company. It usually happens when the smaller companies offer a solution or product that the bigger company wants, but they are in a shortage of resources to develop on their own. And for business efficiency is just way more effective to acquire from another player. Revenue manager, they are thinking of basically, as much as we have traffic, how companies make money. Anyone here can tell me how payment company makes money? Makes money mean how could they become profitable? Let's just think about OVO. I love to mention OVO many times because all your backgrounds are purple here. This just reminds me a lot of them. Anyone can tell me how they are making money? Percentage of what? Fee you mean is a fixed fee, fixed amount of money. Handling fee, some of them call it platform fee, marketing, advertisement, could be user that using the technology, merchants through subscription, third-party financial service with admin fee, settled money. What do they do with the settled money? Numbers of users, how having million of users make you a profitable company? Membership fee. Yeah, thank you. I love the participations of the questions. So there is this one terms that is called net take rate. All right, let me type it here. Yeah. Or in some cases, there are also platform fee. So those who answer handling fee, you are closely correct. The idea of a net take rate is basically certain percentage of money out of the total transaction. So for example, if a food stall merchants, they make 1 million transaction through OVO, OVO will charge, for example, I'm just giving an example, not sure of their real numbers. Let's say 0.5%. So out of 1 million transaction, how much they are making? Oh, sorry, I write it to, sorry. Yeah, so let's say they are making 0.5% out of 1 million. That means they are making 50,000 rupiah, if I calculate it correctly, right? So that is why they need not only more numbers of users, but also a higher amount of transaction. And that is where the strategy team will think of what are the other use case that will enable our users to keep transacting. There are multiple variables to think about it, right? It will happen if users are purchasing more products, they will transact more, or if they are purchasing more expensive item, they will transact higher amount, or let's offer them with a new product, right? Let's offer with new product, for example, investment with that is why there is OVO Invest, for example. Let's offer them with some digital product like Pulsa and then platform, so they can pay their PPJS and everything. So that's also basically a strategy for business to develop their product verticals, to not only making money from one products, but making money from a different products. And what the strategy team has to think about is how should we prioritize the business initiative based on the resources that are available in the company, right? If it is something that is within our capability, it's easy for us to do. But if it is something that we do not have the capability, that means we need to hire people who can teach us how to do that, or people who are experienced in building that kind of products in the other company. And that is where the strategy execution will take place, right? And the last part, the business guard, is basically rooted in the fact that as I mentioned, a lot of business in fintech are operating in the new model, so they need a very intense communications with the government in terms of what is allowed and not. And then if they want to create this product, should they apply for a license? If yes, which license? What are the requirements or documentations that the company has to provide to apply for that license, and a lot of stuff, right? Because financial institution is one of sector that highly regulated by government, right? It has to do with someone else's money. You have to be reliable, you have to be trusted, and therefore your compliance team is also one of the backbone, right? Otherwise, your business can be shut down by government at any time. And that's why you need to make sure that all the process that you operate are legally allowed and you are comply. So I'm reaching out to my last page. So hope that we can have more time to discuss. At the end of the day, you might take a look inside yourself in which area that I have a key strength, that I am most interested in which role I wanted to contribute in the company, right? But we also know that securing a job in this period of pandemic is quite challenging. In a way, it's getting more competitive. Company prioritize those talent who they see that the talent will be able to immediately contribute, right? Because we do not have much time to do training like corporate in the early days, right? Most of the business are running in the fast pace. We deals a lot with uncertainty, and no wonder that a lot of early jobbers a lot of time are confused, right? A lot of them are ended up unhappy working in fintech or in startups. If you hear from your friends telling that, oh, working in a startup, there is no clear direction, or even if there is direction, the direction are changing a lot. The environment is toxic and everything. But let me tell you the other way to see about it, right? As a matter of fact, you can learn a lot. You are trusted for a big responsibility, right? That is the beauty of startup. You don't need to wait until 10 to 15 years to basically reach step up your career path. If you are proven, if you are qualified, and then you are eligible for the promotions, right? You are eligible for bigger responsibility. But how to start? What are some the early jobbers frustration? We are usually afraid of making mistakes, right? But actually making mistake is fine as long as you learn from that mistakes. When you do something not right that makes your leader not happy, or you deliver things that are not meeting your leader's expectation, try to understand where is the gap, what your leaders want you to contribute to deliver, and in fact, what do you deliver? Are you delivering a good quality but not in the right time? Or are you delivering in time, but for example, not meeting the expected quality, right? But even before making mistakes, right? First thing first, the right thing to do is to be objective driven. Think as you are a business owner. So do not asking question, is it the right thing to do? Say for example, if you are in the marketing position, right? You need to promote about your company's product. You are trusted to handle budget. You will think about where should I spend this company budget that I will get most of users in return, right? You will think about what is the right thing to do. Is it okay or not? But if you think from the perspective that you are the business owner, you will think about doing your job beyond just a job. It is beyond than just an assignment. It is beyond than just a task to do, but it's something that if you do it right, you will become impactful for the company. So imagine if you are the business owner, what would you do, right? Be objective driven. Do you want to get users, or do you want to get simply awareness because this is the new product that you want to introduce for the first time? And then train your critical thinking by asking the right questions, right? That is correlated with the second point on the right side. So do not asking questions that you can Google, that you can find in the Google, but asking the right questions that it trains your critical thinking. So for example, you are assigned for 2 or 3 multiple assignments with a nearly similar deadline. If you do not understand how is it prioritized by the company, you can ask your leaders, okay, I have to develop a marketing plan to run a campaign. At the same time, I have to run an evaluation for the campaign that just being done last month. And then at the same time, perhaps I have to involve in the other team members project. How should I prioritize? Right? If I were you, perhaps I will have a proposal, right? Can I prioritize the campaign evaluation so I know the lesson learned and I can make a better decision for the next marketing plan in the next month, right? In fact, you need the learning to make your next decision, but that's your thought. And then having courage to clarify that to your leaders. What do you think if this is the way I prioritize, right? So even you can ask two different level of questions. Hi, ma'am, or hi, sir, right? You're talking to your leaders. How should I prioritize this? That's it. It sounds that you don't even put a thinking, right, in the process. But if you ask, hey, I'm having these 3 multiple assignment. I'm thinking to do this first and then to do the later, the other one second or later. What do you think, right? And that's how you will learn to understand your leader's judgment, justification, the thinking process. So having that critical thinking, and then be clear on your deliverables by confirming your leader expectation. A lot of time we are making mistake because we just say yes at the beginning when we are assigned for something. Hi, can you do this? Yes, ma'am. Hi, can you help me with this? Yes, ma'am. Hi, can you handle this for by tomorrow? Can you submit this later on today? Yes, ma'am. But we do not make clear on what is really the expectation of the leaders or the person that assigned us, right? Deliverables means, for example, it is different between completing a report and sharing the lesson learned or the findings from that report, right? Completing a report is just making a report, but making a decision based on the findings in that report, you will put extra thinking to learn about what is really informative from this report instead of just making a report, right? So for example, this Fintech summer course this year is participated by 150, right? And then we have 10 modules. And at the end of the session, the committees will create a report. And then when they want to arrange again next year, they will think about what are the lessons learned from the event this year, right? So instead of just an organizing, okay, let's make the series of the event annually, let's have another one next year. But think about what's the lesson learned? What can we do differently this time, right? So think about the be objective driven, train your critical thinking, and be clear on your deliverables, having courage, right, in confirming your leader's expectation. Do you want me to complete this ASAP? And most important is completing the assignment, or do you want me to focus on, for example, crunching the data because you want to analyze based on the data that I provide? That's two different things, right? So I guess that's it from my side. I hope it helps anyone in any positive ways that possible. I'll pass back the floor to the moderator and happy to pick up some questions that I saw in the chat box. Thank you.
Okay. Dear participant, we are continuing to Q&A session. If you have any question, you are allowed to submit your question through Zoom chat box, or you are also allowed to using raise hand feature for live interaction. Thank you. Okay.
Or perhaps from the moderator can help me with which questions to answer first. I saw some questions.
From Farhan UNS, where could I start my career in fintech industry as employee or intern?
Sorry, let me check quickly. What was the question? Sorry, what was again the question? I'm scrolling up.
Where could I start my career in fintech industry?
Yeah. I found it. Where could I start my career in fintech industry as employee or intern? Everywhere. You could start it everywhere. You could go to the LinkedIn and see which company has the job openings for either full-time or internship. And most important is get yourself apply, right? It's not about where, it's about the how, and it's about making action, actually. if that's answer.
Okay, for Farhan. Mungkin next question from Kayla from Yunan. For your current company, what is the most important point of your company desired worker? Is it based on the university reputation or the individual experience?
Thank you. Very good questions. And sorry, UNAN is University of Andalas, is it? If I'm guessing it correctly. So I know where are you coming from. I would love to see which one is Kayla.
Yes, is this mess?
All right, thank you. Yeah, so most important point of your company desired worker. There are two perspectives to think about the most desired traits or desired quality. From the company perspective, at the company level is from the culture fit perspective, right? And then from the division level, about the role itself is the technical perspective, right? So in Alpha JWC, the work itself actually requires, I would say, a self-driven people, problem to solve. So I'm working with startup founders in the early days of the company, whereby it's not easy for them to hire talent, right? And we have to map out together with them which talent you need to firstly hire, and then where to get them, how to attract them to the company, how much should we compensate them, giving the salary recommendations. So in a way, we put our founders, portfolio founders first before ourselves, before our interest, right? I would say there is this traits called individual drive, basically that will encourage you to become someone who is motivated, keep looking for problem to solve, having initiative, operate on your own proactiveness. Even your leader is not telling you what to do, you have to be able to figure out by yourself what is the company problem that is critical. So the discussion between me and my leaders is not about, okay, what is my next assignment, but I called her, I called my leader is Erika, right? Eventually she is also coming from Solo and grew up in Malang. So I saw that the organization are facing these 2-3 things problem. What do you think? Should we help them with this ABC? What's the company point of view about this startup that we invest? For example, if we put a lot of money in that company, we do not want the company to fail, right? We do not want the company to go bankrupt, because by then the capital investment that we put, it wouldn't come back to us, right? But our vision is to make sure the company grow, so the investment that we put in the company also grow, right? So we put this 5 million this year, 5 years for example 20% ownership in the company. 5 years later, right? You can see Bukalapak just go IPO. You can see Tokopedia and Gojek also soon will be IPO. In the next 5 to 10 years, our 20% investment is no longer 5 million worth, but it has multiplied, right? So we have to keep thinking what is the best way to grow the organization. And if I can summarize the answer, basically the most desired trait is that self-drive, problem-solving orientation, and stakeholder management, I would say, because we are operating in a high-level industry where most people are coming from a outstanding education background. Those founders that I am working with, some of them are graduating from Harvard Business School, from Stanford, they are smart people who know what they want to do, and in a way, we have to be able to offer solution for a smart people, right? So it's like a double work. Yeah. So that's it. University reputation is not a guarantee, but even if you are not coming from reputable university, you can still prove yourself in the interview. That is exactly what I did, right? I mean, I was from ONS as well, right? I'm not coming from the overseas university like most of my colleagues in the company, if you later want to take a look. But I can demonstrate that potential that I have during the interview, that in a way it convinced the company to hire me. Yeah. Or any follow-up questions before we go to next questions?
For the next question from Karmes from ITS. I see that your current company and previous ones are quite different in field. What made you decide to go to this company? Did you have previous professional experience in fintech?
What made you decide to go to this company? Did you have previous professional experience in fintech? Yeah. So if I can share in short, my second company, which is a recruitment consultant, the consultant role that I took was actually more into a salesperson role, right? So I have to hire for my client's company. By then, the client's company will pay to my company, right, based on the services that we did for them. And for me, being in that very transactional role, right? Transactional means everything you do, you need to think from the business perspective, right? You need to think at the end of the day how much it makes money to the company. It just doesn't resonate to my personal value. I enjoy more role where I can see the impact of what I did, and that's what actually very well accommodated in my current company in the VC, in venture capital. So for example, we hire the first few people for the company that we invest. At the end of the day, when the company successfully fundraising, when the company successfully launched their product, where the company grew 3, 5 times, 10 times of the revenue, we know that's because of the right talent that we put in the company, and that's how I can see the impact of my job. And actually, it gives me deeper personal satisfaction. Aside from the second reason is that I love to work with smarter people. I mean, people who are smarter than me. I think that's just the nature of how I learn, right? In my second company, people are, I would say, very limited with the business knowledge, right? Because we are a service company, right? We're just trying to offer the service, the consultancy that our company have, but we do not understand much actually about the client business. Is the client business doing well or not? What are their source of revenue? But when I sit in the investor side, at the moment in my current company, I'm working with a lot of senior people who are, like I said, coming from a great backgrounds, and by then I can understand how a business decision is being made, which is a very valuable reasons to me. I don't have professional experience in fintech aside from hiring for fintech companies, but I also manage my my leader's expectation in the interview. So I say to her, I have all this recruitment experience, but I didn't know at all about investment. If you still consider to hire me anyway, you know I will later on ask a lot of questions. So the decision is in yours, but I am looking forward the opportunity to learn. Yeah, that's it. What's the next questions or any follow-up answers? Perhaps can I hear question is being asked directly? If anyone want to unmute yourself.
For the next question from Zoe.
I'm bored of listening my own voice.
Hello. For the next question, Miss,
Yeah.
from Zoe. How
Yeah,
can fintech achieve inclusivity for the third world countries? Doesn't the socio-political factor affect this aim? Uh, how can fintech achieve inclusivity for third world countries? Doesn't the socio-political factor affect this aim?
How can fintech achieve industry inclusivity for third world countries? Doesn't the socio-political factors affect this aim? Yeah. It's a tough question, to be honest. I might not be the best person to answer, but I'll try my best. Speaking of third world countries, I believe what in my perspective, right, developing countries is country whereby there is a quite significant Gini ratio, education access is unequal, health and some social facilities access are also unequal, right? So like us in Jakarta and some other big cities, every time there is new technology, we can quickly adapt. But I saw in a report that done by a management consultant, Kearney, there are second and third cities in Indonesia that they are a little bit left behind. So they just adopt what happened in the big cities, but 2 to 3 years later, right? So that's just how I firstly illustrate about the third world countries. Basically, when there is inequality in the country itself, right? So the inclusivity itself, like I said earlier in my presentation, there are three major stakeholders, right? If we can say so. First, of course, is from the business player itself. Is about the invention that they do, the innovation, the product they offer. And if you think about why a lot of fintech companies giving cashback, giving promo, it's simply because we are in the price sensitive market, right? If people have to pay upfront of the service that they use, for example, you can pay using OVO, but you have to firstly pay a subscription fee, for example, I am pretty sure it will hit their numbers of download and user metrics, right? The product adoption metrics. And that's how business players actually try to tolerate, try to compensate our market behavior and characteristic in Indonesia, that people need to firstly trust and try the product up until they will be a loyal user, right? And that's where all the revenue management, cashback, burn rate game take place from the company. From the other side, it also take role from the government, basically a clear regulatory framework that I am not the best person to talk about it, but we are clear that what government set in place, it basically determines a lot how business will develop. So that's the second shareholders. And then the third one is actually us as the consumers, right? How we can create the ripple of effect when we are a user of one particular product. Do we actually use that product for our own benefit, or can we invite our society, can we invite our community to also involve in that? And if I can adding one last important stakeholder as well, is I would say is actually the academic institution, right? Like what UMS do in this fintech summer course. How education at the same time also can facilitating from the knowledge perspective about this fintech development. So I think inclusivity couldn't be achieved by one single stakeholder. It's always a mutual work, collaboration from multiple stakeholders in the country, and everyone plays equally important role. if there is any feedback.
Okay, Miss. For the next question from Regita,
Thank you.
where they got money for cashback, will that benefit them?
Yeah. So that is why there is company called venture capital, right? A company such my company does exist because we need to provide the capital for these fintech startups so they can operate their business. And one of the operational aspect is user acquisition. And one of the strategy for user acquisition is giving cashback, right? So the money is coming from investors, but we have to be agree on how the money will be used by the business. Is it to build product? Is it to finance the marketing expansion, or is it for the operational cost? Is it to acquire to pay for license, for example, right? So that's where the money for cashback from. I think what is more important is to understand what is the objective, the business objective behind cashback, right? Instead of mainly about where is the cashback, the money for cashback coming from, and the benefit. What will that benefit them? Like I said, it's to drive the user acquisition. Actually, I believe most of us love cashback, right? We will use the product more and more when we got cashback, and that is when the company can also get a higher revenue from our total transaction.
Okay. For the next question from Rizky, is there any opportunities from non-business or economic major in fintech company? And what are the challenges working in the startup fintech company? I'm from ER major. Thank you.
Yeah. IR, international relation, right? If it is correct. So definitely, fintech is not only require talents from economy. If we recall the page where I share about 4 functions, 4 pillars of the organization, right? There are the product guys, there are the legal team in the company, and they are not always coming from economic background, right? So your questions, perhaps if I am coming from IR major, what are my chances or what are my career opportunities in fintech, right? If I can rephrase the question, IR, I am to put disclaimer, right? I am not familiar with what are the specialization branch in IR, but if I can put simple understanding about what IR can do, I saw a lot of friends coming from IR. They can sit in the marketing role, right? They can also sitting in the regulatory team in the company, because basically in international relation, you learn also a lot about the stakeholder management. And then there are a lot of opportunities that actually not tied to the study program or your background, right? Even you are coming from one specific background, but if you are lucky enough, for example, to get an internship that help you to equip a skill set from a different perspective. One of example about a very general internship role that it's actually a good transition to full-time role is a business analyst. So business analyst is basically you identify how business process, in which area you can improve, and if the company have to improve specific aspect of their business operation, how is the detail and the structure of the plan, right? Is it by adding more supply? Is it by changing the flow of the internal companies? Is it by targeting for example, different user because the go-to-market strategy has not been effective, for example. So business analyst is one of generalist role that it's a good opportunity for a lot of internship students, I would say. And the challenges it's coming from a social science background, right? A lot of time we are questions about how strong we are from the quantitative perspective when it comes to deal with numbers, with analytics. But at the end of the day, it's not your study program that guarantee your soft skill. It's more into how you train and how you prepare yourself for that, right? You're welcome.
Yes. For the next question from Fanny Yunair, what the specific skill are needed or prepare as a new student who will be entered to the fintech industrial field?
Is it
From
roles
Fanny.
climbing or company climbing to national level with the same kind of roles? For you, what is the most important thing when planning career path? Is it roles climbing? Okay, got it. But let me think about the answer. So to be completely honest, right? If I can just be fair to everyone, most important is of course the compensation, right? How much at the end you are compensated from what you do, or simply said the salary, right? But on the serious note, I would say my experience working in the company is always in the company of lean organization, whereby the organization size is only around 20, 30. It's only the first one that goes up to 100-ish because that's how the company expanding. Unlike my, if I can share a bit, right? Some of you might know, I have a boyfriend that also was my colleague back in the university. He works in a corporate like Unilever, like Tokopedia, where the employees are thousands, right? And what does it mean? It means that your chances of exposure to the management team are much more limited, right? In the smaller company, whatever you do, it is exposed to the upper management. Everyone can see if you do the mistake or if you do great things. And that is also when it is easier for you to step up the career ladder. Most important thing to me is the more I grow up, what level of problem that I am solving, right? At the early days, if I can give a concrete example, as a talent acquisition, I am sitting more at the execution level. I am interviewing people every day, but I didn't make decision. Either they are hired or not. Who eventually make decision is the hiring managers, right? Hiring managers is basically the head of division who is looking to expand his team, right? So I'm pulling people for him. Hey, you know, from this 10 applicants, there are top 3. I want you to meet these top 3 candidates, and eventually he is the one who decide. But now, at this level, what I am doing is more into giving recommendations. If the founders wants to hire, I will be looking for the talent. I will make decision on how much the talent has to be offered, right? Structuring the compensation and the salary offer as well, according to what is fair, benchmarking from the market practice, and then helping to scope if the person join the company, what will be his KPI, right? Should he focus on A or should he focus on B? That means I have to firstly understand about the business process even before I can scope someone job assignment, right? And I know if I am making mistake in this role, it will be basically creating it could be risky to the business, right? If I am hiring wrong people, or if I hire right people but I am giving wrong assignment. So yeah, basically that's that level of problem that at the end of the day reflecting the level of impact of your job. I think that's what is most important to me at the moment. But if I got the chance to speak again next year, it might be changes. I don't know.
Okay, thanks means for all the answer because the time has run out.
Yeah.
The question and answer session has ended. To our student, this is the end of the session. Our gratitude is addressed to Miss Clarissa. Miss Clarissa, would you give your closing statement before we sign off for this room?
Can I firstly got the statement, the closing statement from one of the students? if anyone are generous enough to give me some words, I would like to know how is the overall session. Yeah, and then just wanted to know, just wanted to make sure that the past 1.5 hours doesn't just go away. Anyone would kindly give some word? Any representative from the student? Really, I will give you extra points. I will ask the committee to give extra points. Right. Yeah. If there is no one, I hope thank you for the feedback. I believe later on the committees will help to circulate the feedback form as well. And I'm looking forward to honest feedback from all of you. It's also for my personal development. I am still learning. I am still keep improving myself too. I am extending my apology if there are some limitations to what I share. But I hope from the little that I know, I hope it can enlighten everyone's insight here. Yeah. So enjoy the rest of the session. Later on today, if you meet my colleague Darmadi, he is actually part of the investment team. I hope you will also enjoy the session with him. Thank you, ONS, for having me. Thank you.
Thank you for joining with us and also share your insight based on your experience and expertise, Miss. Have a good day, Miss Clarissa. For this module, we will discuss fintech and personal financial planning that will be presented by Dr. Silviana Maya Damayanti. I suggest you to keep being online. You can just turn off the video and be ready again 10 minutes before next module started. I'm Vetraman signing off from this room and see you on the next session. Bye.